number 2, and that's good. And we are live. Hello, Jeffrey. Did I beat you to it?
Oh, Jeff McKinney, that motherfucker. What's up, guys?
All right, so here we go. Let's see, I got that where I want it, that where I want it. All right, here we go.
Hi, this is Chris Iannetta with Jack Winery and the Colorado Rockies, and this is the We Like Drinking podcast, and you're never drinking alone.
At the sound of the tone, the official We Like Drinking time will be 5 o'clock. Commence consumption.
Thank you for joining us for the award-winning We Like Drinking podcast, episode 195. In this episode, we'll be discussing the Spirit Awards, the Podcast Awards, and the Dirty Jers Goes Brewing. So crack open your beer, uncork that wine, and let's get drinking. I don't know about you guys, but I am excited about tonight's episode. There's just platinum everywhere. It's just gold and platinum everywhere in the studio, in all the studios this week for all the awards that are going on. I can't even see. I'm so blinded. Look at Jeff Solomon's holding it up. We're excited. We've got an awesome guest. So let's get right to this and welcome you to episode 195 of the only, say it with me, Jeff Solomon,
the only 2-time
award-winning topical beer and wine education podcast focusing on fun. Now, if you like what you're hearing, folks, and you feel like there's some money burning a hole in your pocket and you want to throw some our way, visit welikedrinking.com/pledge to find out how you can become a patron of the show, which we'll fill you in a little bit more about a little later in the show. But let's find out who we're drinking with tonight and what they've got in their glasses. We're joined by our usual panel members. We've got our wine blogger, Jeff Solomon.
Hello.
We've got our beer brewer, John Ruyak.
Hey, folks.
And I am your host, Jeff Eccles. And our guest this evening is the food and drink editor for themanual.com, which is the essential guide for men. His work has been featured in Maxim, Bloomberg, The Bitter Southerner, and many other places. His first cocktail book, Grown Up Drinks, will be published in the spring of 2019 by Andrews McMeel. Please help us welcome Sam Slaughter. Welcome to the show, Sam.
Hello, thank you.
I am super excited about this. Folks, if you're interested right off the bat, you can find Sam at Slaughter Writes, and that's SALUGHTERWRITES. And if you want to find him on the interwebs, check out thesamslaughter.com. Did you go to Ohio State, or just there was another Sam Slaughter out there that took
there are multiple Sam Slaughters, and one of them is a writer, so I wanted to just subtly put myself at the top of the list.
Just give him a little. Yeah, I like it.
Just in case he ever looks for himself on Google, like I tend to do. I want him to see that and go, "Huh, there's another one."
More important than I am.
Well, I loved it. Like, wasn't Shaq's first Twitter handle the real Shaq? Like, as if
because there's so many of them.
There's so many Shaquille O'Neals out there.
All right, so let's get into this, guys. Let's start with you, John Ruyak. What's in your glass there tonight?
I just popped a cork on a bottle of Cascade Brewing Sang Royal.
Ooh.
This is a red ale with Pinot Noir grapes.
Oh, nice.
It's comes in at 9.4 ABV. I have no idea what the IBUs are on this. Probably very, very low. This is a sour ale. People are familiar with Cascade Brewing in Portland. The bottles are very expensive. No matter, and they're not any cheaper at the brewery, for goodness sakes. I mean, I can get it for $26 here in Albuquerque, and they're still $26 at the brewery. What's up with that? They should be a discount when you drive all the way to Portland.
They should. What do they think?
Anyway, it's nice and fizzy. Boy, you can smell the sourness as soon as I pop the cork. It is a corked bottle, by the way, if I didn't mention that before, and I've had this before. It's a beautiful beer, but I'll taste it
Get
again.
to it already, son.
The suspense is killing me.
Chugs the whole glass.
You know, I do that on the regular on this show, right?
Yes, I do.
So you really, it has some Belgian components, some kind of,
Banana-y.
no. The lambic type of beers. It's not a lambic beer, but it's got that lambic sourness.
Okay.
So a little bit of maybe lactobacillus fermentation going on there. You can definitely taste the red ale, or maybe even an odd Bruin type of style underneath of that, and then the grape characteristics start to come through. Does it taste like pepper water? Pinot Noir? No, it doesn't. But boy, it's subtle, it's delicious. This is a 5-star beer right here, folks. This is a celebratory beer.
Well, yeah, that's right. Well, enjoy it, because I'm sure it won't last through the show. Jeff Solomon.
Hey, I was one of the
lucky bastard.
I was the only person on the show that could actually accept a shipment. So I'm speaking for everybody when I say that Frisco Brandy by Charlie O'Connell out of San Francisco, California, American Immature Brandy, is the best American Immature Brandy out of San Francisco. I can definitively say this right now, and none of you are going to know the difference. No, Charlie was sweet enough to send a sample our way of this Frisco, and so I thought I'd do it 2 different ways. Right here, this is the Frisco Basic. All my ice is melted on this already, but this is it's equal parts Frisco Immature Brandy, and then also some club soda as well. A little bit later, I'm going to be rocking. You know, I just came back from Italy. I don't know if you know this or not, guys. And in the afternoon, like an Aperol Spritz is like the jam, right? And so this is on friscobrandy.com. They call this the Frisco Venetian. And so this is Frisco, Aperol, and soda. So it's kind of like their take on an Aperol Spritz. I'm excited to get into that later. And I don't want to go too deep on the flavor components of this Frisco, but you know, it is made from Muscat grapes, and you're getting there's definitely like a little bit of a subtle like white wine characteristic. There's like some dried apricot in there as well. This is really nice, and it's kind of piquing my interest. It's wetting my whistle. Dare I say, it's an aperitif to the larger meal that is spirits that I think we're going to be diving into today, and I think more so on this podcast.
I think so. I think that's where we're headed. So Sam, what are you drinking this evening?
So I get bottles in fairly often, and I got one in over the weekend or late last week from Plantation, so a Jamaican rum, and it is one of their new ones. It's a special dry 100% pot still rum. So it's the kind of true Jamaican style of rum where they're using only pot stills. It is called Jamaica or Jamaica, perhaps, because that word is Arawak for, let me see if I can get this right, the land of wood and water, and it is the Arawak word for Jamaica. So who knows how it's actually pronounced? There's not a pronunciation guide on the back, but I'm just going to run with it and say Jamaica.
Excellent. How are you?
Like it?
It's good. I added a little bit of bitters, cherry bark vanilla bitters from Bitter Cube. They are one of my favorite bitters brands, and I liked how the cherry and the vanilla go with the drier characteristics that you find in the rum.
Oh man, that does sound good. What an interesting episode. I don't know if we've ever all been not, you know, this many spirits, but I got a little Johnny Walker Gold 18 here that I got for a birthday present. So
how long ago? Because that ball's hurting a little bit.
what are we in October? It's been a couple months. So let's get into this. You've heard what we're drinking. We've got a lot to talk about, but the first thing we need to do is test everybody's knowledge before we kill too many brain cells and get into Grape, hop, or pop culture reference. So this is where I give the panel a term and they try to tell me if it's a wine grape, a beer hop, or some kind of pop culture reference. I totally forgot what I had until I just looked at it and I almost laughed again because I have fun with this one. The term this week is Schattenhammel. So is Schattenhammel a wine grape, a beer hop, or some kind of pop culture reference? John, I believe it's your turn to take us out this week.
Come on. There's got to be an umlaut somewhere in that.
No umlaut in this one, if you can believe it.
Oh, man. Could you spell it for us, Jeff?
Schottenhamel. Schattenhammel.
One word?
One word.
Okay.
Can you use it in a sentence?
The word of the week is Schattenhammel.
Is that like some pop culture reference in reference to shooting Dorothy Hamill?
Oh my goodness.
With her short and sassy hair. You guys aren't old enough to know. Way back in the 70s when she won a gold medal in the Olympics, her hairstyle was everywhere, and she had a shampoo, and of course everybody got sick of her. So no, my apologies to Miss Dorothy Hamill for that. I'm gonna say that.
Can you apologize to our audience?
Why? I'm going with it's a grape. I'm gonna say it's a grape from the east side of the Rhine River in Germany.
All right. Sam, Schattenhammel.
I was really hoping you'd pick me third because I can just, if they were going to go back and forth, I am going to go with a hop, unless it is a German pop culture reference to their love of David Hasselhoff.
Well, I think that's every word in German. That is.
Like there are those words that just don't translate. It just means that thing. And this is the German love of David Hasselhoff.
I like it. Jeff Solomon.
That's not a bad idea.
It is a bad idea in and of itself, but it's an excellent guess.
The thought process, a la Farfignugan and what's the Reinheitsgebot, right?
Schadenfreude.
Yeah. So Schattenhammel. I need to quit playing around. Schattenhammel is a grape. I'm going to say it's a light-skinned red grape that is similar to Gamay. And it's found in one of the colder regions of Germany. Aren't all the regions cold? I'm going to go with it's a light-skinned red grape. Schattenhammel.
All right. So I think Sam changed his answer there and went with pop culture reference, which was a fantastic idea.
I'm sticking with it,
Sam, because Schattenhammel is in fact a pop culture reference.
Oh,
I'm leaving.
It is, however, not a term for David Hasselhoff. It is the origin tent in which Oktoberfest gets started. At noon, the mayor of Munich kicks the celebration off by shouting, "Oh, Zapft is!" And that's when they get it started. So there you go. Schattenhammel. All right, we're like 20 minutes in and we can finally get to interviewing our guest because that's how award-winning podcasts run their business. So Sam, there's so much to cover with you. I'm so excited about this. You're an author. You're a published author. You're working for the Manual as the editor of the Food and Drink. And you guys went through nearly a year-long process to come up with the 2018 Spirit Awards. Folks, if you haven't checked out the Manual, themanual.com, check it out. It's a very, very cool website, especially the Spirit Awards. 9 categories devoted to American spirits. So there is no tequila. I want to run through the 9 categories that we have here. We have brandy, Jeff Solomon. We have bourbon, single malt whiskey, rye, aged rum, unaged rum, gin, vodka, and flavored vodka, which I found really interesting. So you guys went through. I can't even imagine what this process was like. I know you're like the big thing right away is like, we didn't try everything because one, we'd be dead. But what was some of the process that you guys went through to whittle this down? There was 3 finalists in every category. So how did you guys get down to those 3?
Yeah, like you said, we were unable to try everything with new products coming out all the time, small distilleries and their distribution. So there might be amazing stuff in Alaska, but me living in South Carolina, I may never see it. And so we just let that be. And we got our hands on as much as we could. I have a number of spirits writers and beer and wine writers that live in various places in the country. And over the course of those 7, 8, 9, they all run together after a while, however many months they are, but trying to try as much as we can, talk about it, bounce ideas off of each other, find new stuff, and continually learn about what spirits are being made in America. And then from there, making some hard cuts and going from there.
So
Excellent.
how many samples of each style did you think you, just as a round guesstimate?
From the very beginning, I would have to say close to 20 or 30 of each, which is not a lot in the grand scheme of things. There are 20 or 30 vodkas being made in Minnesota alone, say, but we tried to get a sample of spirits from around the country, as well as knowing reputations of distilleries and knowing previous win records at other competitions. We tried to use those as well to narrow the focus a little bit.
And you did have, I saw you had Hawaii in there, you had Colorado in there, you had Oregon, you had East Coast. You did have a good sample of it. Of the 9 categories, was there one that surprised you in how competitive it was? Or was there just one of those 9 that you weren't expecting something out of, but were really surprised by?
I would say the flavored vodka one. It was the most interesting to me because everything was so different. It's not drinking 3 bourbons that all may have the same mash bill. They may have all been through the same basic process. They may have all been aged for the same amount of time. And you will get those slight differences, obviously, because no 2 bourbons made by 2 bourbon makers are going to be exactly the same. But with the flavored vodkas, you go in knowing that everything is going to be different because the flavoring agent is different every time, and there are different ways to incorporate those flavors into the spirit, whether it's maceration or aging or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, your finalists for that one were, talk about a wide gamut. I'm forgetting one of them, but you had a chili flavored vodka, you had a cucumber flavored vodka, and I can't remember what the other one. What was the other one?
Macroot Lime from Hangar One. So, interestingly enough, 2 of them are produced within maybe 200 yards of each other. Hangar One and St. George are on the same street, and they're separated by a brewery and maybe one other building.
The best street in America.
I've been to that distillery. It's one of the greatest places ever. Yeah, I was excited to see those names there.
Since you did bring that one up, because like you said, you've with the ryes or with the bourbons, you've got very similar profiles that you can really kind of discern which one you feel is better than the other one. But how did you do it with flavored vodka with chili, lime, and cucumber?
I was really looking especially in that final one, even if you're doing it blind, you could be doing it blind with headphones on and like every other sense, and you'd still know what they are. Like you can't surprise yourself with a green chili and a lime and go, I don't know what's what. But for those, I was looking at the like ultimate expression of those flavors. So with a lime, how close does it taste to a real lime? How does that play out over the course of a tasting? And with the green chili vodka, which won, they add 5 different types of peppers. They also have cilantro and lime. And so you're getting a very nuanced profile from beginning to end. And things open up over time, whether you're adding a little bit of water, ice, or not really mixing it in. There's, I would say, 5 or 10 cocktails that really it serves well in. But there are so many different flavors that are going into that. So you're getting those green chilies, but those are all boosted up by the habanero, I believe, is one of the other peppers, but the bell peppers are in there. So you have this gardeny vegetal flavor. And then the cilantro and the lime just mix everything together, and you get freshness and zest and all that.
Oh, that's
Cool.
so delicious.
I
That
almost feel
sounds
like
delicious.
there should be another category and maybe another drinking episode for us, like booze that goes great with tacos. Like that sounds amazing.
Oh, it's so good. I love it in Bloody Marys. That's my preferred way of doing it.
Yeah. So folks, if you're not peaked yet, if you do check out themanual.com for the Spirit Awards, another really cool thing is each section, usually how you go to these and they just list out all the winners and that's about it. Each category gets its own page on their site, and with the description of the winning one, a little bit of history of it, and as well as a mixed cocktail that you could make with it, along with a video on how to make it. So, I mean, congratulations to you guys. I mean, you really went all out on the Spirit Awards, and it shows in your presentation of it. It shows in some of the winners that I saw that I do know of that are excellent. So I was really impressed by the Spirit Awards, and I look forward to trying some of the stuff that you guys have here. Jeff Solomon, any questions?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in the vein of the awards, I was just thinking about how Steve is on. I'm sorry, Sam. I'm so sorry. How Sam is also.
As long as you're looking like at me through the camera, I will still respond. It's fine.
Okay, no, but still, I F that up. I apologize. So Sam is also on a podcast with the Manual called Beards, Booze, and Bacon. And as I was listening to you break down the awards on that podcast that was just released a couple of weeks ago, one of the things they asked you was, what was your favorite? And you kind of like declined to answer exactly which one. I was hoping maybe you could help with this one, Sam. What was your least favorite that you had to taste for the competition? Like maybe they weren't a finalist, but are you ready to just like slam some booze right now? Like in a bad way?
I will say that I had a number of spirits that are not my favorite, nor do I feel they are ideal for what they are. I feel they are gimmicky and they do a disservice to serious spirits drinkers.
It's kind of like when people put garlic in wine and set up a stand on the side of the road near my house just because I live in the garlic capital of the world. Like, fuck you guys. It doesn't go with wine. Like one of those things.
Like milkshake IPAs.
Here we go. Another one that really piqued my interest, especially I think your description of it was what really got me there, was the New Deal pear brandy that won the brandy section. I know Jeff is drinking the Frisco brandy, which we'll have to talk to us. I think they're in New York, but I don't think they're in South Carolina. But the New Deal,
I've got a bottle on my shelf. I really enjoy that stuff.
Oh, you do have the Frisco.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Don't call it Frisco.
It's Frisco.
I know. I'm just saying.
The New Deal pear brandy sounded really good. Where did you find this one, or tell us something about it that people may not know?
Sure. New Deal is out of the Portland area, and our office for the Manual and our brother publication Digital Trends is based in Portland. So if you're ever in downtown Portland, we are in the giant pink building. But being out there and spending time out there, I've had the opportunity to see a lot of the distilleries out there, and time after time, New Deal Distillery, as well as any number of the other distilleries in the Portland area, all do amazing things with the fruit that is bountiful in the Pacific Northwest. And even though it is an unaged brandy, the flavors that come out of it using pears that are pulled from a particular farm. The name is escaping me at the moment, but it feels and it tastes like you're just walking in an orchard, and I loved that about it. It just, multiple sips. I could drink it straight. I could drink it. That with soda, I think, is a wonderful long drink.
Oh yeah, sounds good.
So let's stop skipping through the pear orchards and go to the dark side.
Uh-oh.
Now, what was your overall impression of the American single malt whiskey category? Were you in the back of your mind thinking, "Oh man, this is not going to compare to my Islay or my Highland of some sort"? How did it play out for you guys?
So I think that's the thing that I've come up against a lot when I've been drinking these, and I've had a number of the single malt whiskeys, especially on the East Coast. I've come into contact with a lot of small like farm distilleries where you can buy it at the farm and maybe the farmer's market in town. But I've been able to try a number of these, and they impress me a lot. They're the opposite of a Shania Twain song in the late 90s. I'm glad you guys got that. Otherwise, that would have been a really awkward transition.
Oh man, Jeff, you know what I'm singing at the end of the show?
Oh yeah, I know it's coming.
Stop
But-
the music. All right.
With the single malt category, a lot of people, when you hear those words, you automatically think Scotch specifically, and maybe even Japanese or to another extent Irish whiskey. But these distilleries are making a case that just the term single malt needs to be more universalized, because they're doing really good things with whiskey that we haven't necessarily seen on a countrywide level before.
What was the maximum amount of time on a sample that was aged? Do you remember?
That's a good question. I believe the winning Westward whiskey out of Portland as well was the winner, and I believe they were aged for 4 or 5 years.
Okay, so that's getting some contact. That's cool. These guys have heard the story before, but I went to Leadville, and there was a whiskey distiller in Leadville. I walk up and I purchased some, and I asked before I drank it, so was this aged at all? Or like, no, we just distilled this last week. And I took a sip of that, and it just like cleaned my teeth and dissolved my fillings, and yeah, it was whew.
And I think we're finally getting to a time where the distilleries that are putting out single malts are able to put out aged expressions, because 4 or 5 years ago, when bourbon was really hitting its stride again, they went, can I curse? Can I say that?
Yes.
Just checking.
Please.
They went, oh shit, we should start doing things other than bourbon. We should start making our own stuff. We don't need to buy it necessarily. And so we've got distilleries now that are finally able to come out with their own product that is aged and can go up against other countries' single malt whiskeys.
Cool.
Nice.
There seems to be enough barrels going around that, now the distilleries are going to be fighting over the barrels with brewers now after the wineries give them up. This is going to be an interesting time with wood contact beverages here in the next 10 years.
So here's what I'm thinking about, Sam. I'm thinking about like these awards are awesome, and the way that y'all laid it out on the manual is great. And I love hearing about, all these different expressions of spirits that I really feel like I need to be diving into. I guess my question is this. I know we're talking about 2018, but what's the future? I mean, is because I think about it with wine in the sense that it could be the same winery every single year competing, and there's going to be these subtle differences. But when I think about with a lot of spirits that might be priding themselves in consistency from year to year. Where does the future come into play with stuff like that?
And we've had chats about this, and I think personally, I don't know if I'll end up getting overruled or what, but I want to make sure that every year new distilleries are getting recognized. So if you've been in as a finalist or a winner of, say, 2018, that while we recognize how awesome you are, we want other distilleries. Like we said, there are over 1,000 distilleries in the US. We tried across, maybe 276 if I did 30 of each. That's nowhere close, especially if a distillery is producing 4 vodkas or 4 flavored vodkas, or they're doing 3 expressions of brandy or something like that. So we want to move on and find new distilleries or revisit old distilleries, but year to year, maybe, have a 2 or 3 year layoff or whatever it's called, but we want to find and give exposure to other distilleries as well.
Was there anybody that in these 9 categories that was so far ahead of second place it would be tough for someone to catch up?
That's a good question. I think I have my favorites, but my tasting when we did the finals, if I tasted them again today, I might choose differently. I've had any number of spirits now that my palate may have changed or whatever. At the time, I had some definite favorites. The green chili vodka, for example, and the pear brandy, like we've talked about both of them, they stood out immediately to me. And I went back to them and just to make sure I wasn't, because of the intensity of the flavor, just picking them. But I think they spoke to me immediately in that case. Yeah, those would be the 2 best examples.
Are you envisioning like expanding the categories at all?
Maybe. If we're keeping it to the US based spirits only, things like tequila would not be admissible. While there are agave spirits being produced in the US, I don't think they would necessarily be up to par with the tequilas, and then I feel would be short shrifting the tequilas. And if we could take it to the global level of spirits, great, but then that opens so many other doors that as a very small staff, we would probably die.
Yeah. Well, I think you've got 3 volunteers to.
Yeah, there you go.
But apparently, I'm the only one that can accept shipments, so I'll just take triple. I guess I'm also wondering this. Thinking back to the flavored vodkas, because I think we're all kind of excited about that. Were there just any like crazy weird flavors that people were throwing at you where you're like, whoa, what are you even?
I have seen some flavors, and I admit that I deferred from a couple of them. There is it's either a salmon or a smoked salmon vodka from Alaska. And so I looked at that, and while I appreciate smoked salmon, that was one of those ones in conversation that we just decided to put to the side for now.
Well, because that's what I was thinking. It's just like, you've got these smoked meat products showing up in vodka. I'm just wondering if you've gotten anything from Norway with like smoked whale testicles in it.
Oh, Sam, thank you for
that would be Iceland.
Same difference. But I will say the smoked salmon actually, like, I don't know, like maybe that could be a Bloody Mary with like just a beautiful bagel on the side, like some capers. I don't know. Call me crazy.
Just as long as you're not mixing it with like Pinnacle's chocolate whipped cream flavored vodka, I think you'll be okay.
Oh, I just lost my appetite.
Oh my God.
I believe that shot is called a breakfast from hell.
So Sam, we have to give you some congratulations because you've got a cocktail book in the making.
I do. Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, this will actually make more sense as to why I quoted Shania Twain before. Grown Up Drinks is a cocktail book that's based on the 90s. So it's all 90s inspired pop culture cocktails.
Nice.
There is a Wu-Tang drink in there
Yeah.
Jeez.
Jeff
called
was
Cream Rolls Everything Around Me.
and that's expected out in spring.
Spring 2019, yeah.
Excellent. Now, besides that book, you also have a couple other books that you have published, right? You have God in Neon, which is a series of short stories, and you have When You Cross That Line, which is, and I want to talk to you about this one for a second, which is some flash fiction based on Florida Man.
Yes.
Is that right?
That
Now,
is correct.
So now, is this the infamous Florida Man that we always hear about on the news stations when Florida Man, runs amok on bath salts naked through the streets? Is that what these are?
Florida Man is a skunk ape from down in the Everglades.
Yes, that would be the Florida Man I was talking about.
Oh, awesome.
I lived there for 3 years while I got my master's, and then a year after I got my master's. And to us, it was just the news. You could see the headline, and you would go, "Yep, that took place in my county."
But it's everywhere. Like even in Colorado, I hear the stories about Florida Man. It's not like you hear Texas man or Massachusetts man, but anything in Florida, those Florida dudes, man. I don't know what's going on.
It's literally not the same guy showing up on the news every night, right?
You never know. I mean, Florida.
If you want it to be, it can be, I'm sure.
Oh, I really need to check this book out. So if people are interested in hearing about all the shenanigans that Florida Man gets into, or God in Neon, before your next book comes out, where can they find these books on the interwebs?
They will have to get them directly from me, because as a small presses run, runs go out, and so the last living copies of those, for better or worse, are sitting on a shelf in my apartment.
Under a bottle of Frisco, I assume.
They're really what they do. They just offset bottles so I can see them above stacks of things.
Excellent. Well, guys, any other questions for Sam? And again, folks, we are talking to Sam Slaughter from themanual.com and from thesamslaughter.com. So, guys, any other final questions before we?
I've got a boatload of questions, but we should move
know.
this along.
I've got people. Here,
Okay, I've got one. I've got one, and I think it's a good way to end. You go to themanual.com, and I was just scrolling around, and my goodness, the manual with all the great, men's interest articles that are there. If you search awards on themanual.com,
okay,
I'm almost certain there's an award for every single thing that exists. Specifically, each state has a set of awards, and then I was looking at the Manual Grooming Awards, which I think Sam and I can definitely relate to. Actually, we're all showing some facial hair right now. I was just wondering, when is the Manual going to come out with their own booze-related podcast awards?
So
they win.
I know a guy who you can talk to about that. Perhaps in 2019, who knows? Maybe there will be a Manual Spirit Awards podcast section next year. We'll add a 10th award.
There you go. I hear there's this booze and bacon podcast that's probably going to be in the running for that one.
I think they'd probably win, but
I'm not saying we would. I mean, they wouldn't win, but they will go with they on that one. Have a strong possibility of winning.
So to recap, folks, check out themanual.com to check out the Spirit Awards. Find your next award-winning spirit. Check out Let me make sure I got it right. It is the Beards, Booze, and Bacon podcast at your favorite podcast catcher. A lot of fun. I really like the format that you guys have. 30 minutes in and out, a specific topic. They go into it pretty well. Good roundtable. So good podcast, Sam. I enjoyed that one. Anything else I'm missing, guys? Oh, and for the Florida man stories, just contact Sam directly and he'll see what he can do for you. Did I miss anything?
I think that's it.
All right. Sam, this is the time of the show where if you want to skedaddle, you can, but we'd love to have you stick around for the rest of the nonsense.
I've got half a glass of rum and water still, so I'm sticking around.
So nice. You're good.
And by the way, this Frisco Venetian is off the heezy, and this is dangerous because it's a school night, so I'm gonna slow
your roll. All right. Well, before we get, oh my goodness, it's coming across the ticker tape right now. It's Booze News. We discuss interesting, noteworthy, or New Jersey. Is what we're doing. So, John Ruyak. I love this story. And folks, if you didn't know, Sam is from New Jersey, so this should be extra fun.
Okay, so really, folks, this is like 86 words. I'm just going to read it. It says, activity, New Jersey officials limiting activities at microbreweries. New Jersey has issued new rules limiting the amount of events microbreweries can host. David Reibel, director of state's Alcoholic Beverage Control Division, signed a special ruling on Friday that limits microbreweries to 25 on-site activities each year, such as trivia nights and live performances. They also cannot provide takeout menus from restaurants, host more than 52 private parties each year, or show sports on television unless it counts as one of their 25 special events. Excuse me.
I agree.
Says the ruling clarifies the 2012 law allowing microbreweries to serve their product on site. He says that law was meant to create demand for craft beers at liquor stores, excuse me, bars and restaurants, not create new consumption venues at breweries. Some microbreweries owners say this hurts the industry's efforts to be community gathering sites. And we all gasp and say, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on in your home state of New Jersey there, Sam?
There's a reason I left the state.
This, and it did go into some of the specifics about the whys, but none of them made any sense to me. Like, especially like I guess I could get it if you were erecting a tent in your parking lot and letting people come to that. But trivia, I mean, where you're just opening your doors and saying, hey, there's a TV with some trivia on it, or hey, there's a football game on. If you want to watch it at our bar, you can. And that they somehow have to chalk this up as an event this just boggles my mind to the insaneness of this.
Okay, so here I am just wondering out loud, and I think everybody here on the panel has an answer to some of these things for me, but is there a difference in terms of licensing if you are solely like a microbrewery tasting room as opposed to like a microbrewery like gastropub? Like, is there a difference there?
There's food serving licensure depending on your jurisdiction. When we expanded our food menu at Lizard Tail, we had to go through a subsequent health inspection, which went, no problem, in order for them to say, okie dokie, please pay us $200 and you can serve soup and potato chips.
I just wonder, and this is the thing that bums me out about like a very quick blurb like this is there that distinction there? Because and I'm playing devil's advocate here. I really don't honestly even care that much to argue in favor of this rule, but I'm just wondering, like, is this something that is strictly applied to a tasting room as opposed to a place where you could get food? Because I can see there being kind of a distinction there in the sense that, you know, obviously that would be absurd if this was like a gastropub that is relying on a trivia night for patronage and all these other things, as opposed to, you know, I know of some breweries that are just in the middle of these industrial districts where they don't really have like a full setup, and yet they'll have events, and it does seem a little bit odd to me. And I'm not trying to be like old man, like get off my lawn or anything like that, but I'm wondering if that's the distinction. Like, I'm wondering if there's if there are a few more layers here that we're missing in this argument, because I am not ready to say that sometimes, you know, governments make shitty rules just because. That's not my stance.
To be fair, we're talking about New Jersey here. All of it is shitty warehouses and developments like that. We don't have anything else other than like some forest that everyone forgets about. So I think that part is invalid.
Jeff, I can't speak to this with any real knowledge, but I believe that was kind of the argument, is that there's different rules in place for restaurants as opposed to these breweries that don't have food. And this was trying to kind of bring things more in line. But that, even with that, I just don't get that somebody can't have a birthday party at your brewery without saying that's one of your 25 allotted events.
I do think it's odd that it's 25 on-site activities. Like, you couldn't make it 52. You couldn't just say once a week. Like, it's once every other week, or technically not even that much. Once every 9 to 8 weeks.
The Devils have a lot more games than that. They can't even put the Devils on every game. So
you know what? Maybe what you do is you go, all right, 25 events a week. You got it. What is this, October? 25 days in October, back to back, motherfuckers.
John.
Well, I mean, kudos to New Jersey for shooting themselves in the foot.
Right? I mean,
because
Sam is cheering in the back.
Don't they get a barrel tax just like every other state?
Yeah.
And I don't think Jersey's barrel tax is particularly low. So, I mean, the more beer they sell, the more revenue the state gets. And are they not cognizant of the culture around craft beer, wine, spirits et al. that is burgeoning in this country and creating industry, job creation, recycling local money? It's called primary dollars, folks. It's keeping money inside your own jurisdiction so it works there rather than going to multinational corporations somewhere else. That's why you shouldn't shop at Walmart, folks. You know, it just reeks of, like, well, stupidity for one, but just a lack of knowledge about how that whole entire culture works and how it benefits everybody. The business next door that's, I don't know, sells shoes. Well, dude, I scuffed my shoe at the brewery. Now I got to buy another pair of shoes. Oh, it's right there. I can go get another pair of shoes. Whatever that happens to be. Hopefully not.
I do scuff my shoes a lot at breweries.
Don't you know?
I'm the cobbler across the street from the brewery. People start walking towards me. I just lower the gate.
I say that because there's a shoe repair store right across the street from us at Lizardtail. So, I mean,
they're like, no, I remember what happened last time. No.
All right. So yeah, if Sam, I think you have some connections in Jersey. Maybe they could fill us in on what the deuce is going on with this, because this is some weird laws that they put in there. But from the outside looking in, it seems pretty insane. New Jersey. I'm just saying.
Being one of the ones who was technically on the inside once, it also looks insane.
Good.
People give millennials a lot of shit for killing a lot of industries. Applebee's, Chili's. Apparently, millennials are killing divorce because we love people and whatnot. But I read an article that millennials are killing divorce. So
I saw that too.
Add that to the list of
things. That's the best thing millennials have ever done.
Come on.
Yeah, you would think that the lawmakers are going out to Applebee's and seeing that there are no people under 60 there. They might consider some things. Like, where are they? Probably at a brewery.
Yeah. So let's stifle them.
Let's call this Dave Rival up and give them a piece of our mind.
That's right. All right. So Jersey, figure your shit out, man. Anything else on that one, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Jeff Solomon.
Yes.
I think you got a little excited yesterday about something.
What?
Did I? About what?
I think we all may have. The podcast awards were last night. Folks, I know you're hearing this on Friday. We're recording this on Monday, so it's fresh on our minds last night. The podcast awards aired last night. Shockingly, two-time repeat champions, We Like Drinking podcast in the arts category. Jeff Solomon, I love the video that you guys posted at the tavern.
That was crazy. Like, I was honestly like, Parker was having a rough day, like just freaking out. And I'm like, I just want to watch the podcast awards in peace. So I grab my phone and I'm like in the other room. And next thing I know, I turn around and my wife is recording me watching the podcast awards. And she caught my reaction as Charlie O'Connell from Frisco Brandy's face shows up on the live broadcast, signifying that we won. That was like, first of all, what's up with that? Like, why is the podcast awards like taking just weird stock photos from our website and using them?
I swear part of it was you had to upload an image of your brand. So I don't know why Frisco Pisco Brandy is the face of We Like Drinking now.
But whatever. I looked and I'm like, the first thing I go is, Charlie O'Connell from Frisco Brandy has a podcast? No, we won. No, I can't believe it. And I know y'all can't believe it. I know Sam can't believe that we would win an award either. Like,
he's been on our show. Oh, he's still here. Yeah. Like, what the hell?
So I did want to take a quick minute. I know we already did it with our fireworks acceptance. But, to everybody that listens to our show or has listened to our show, thank you so much for listening, for voting for us, to our Patreons. I've had a lot of you guys reach out to me. I've had a lot of listeners reach out, and a lot of people that, a lot of lurkers are coming out from this as well, to one, congratulate us, and two, tell Jeff Solomon threw up in their mouth a little bit, which I'm always excited to see.
That's interesting. Some random, like, no joke, a cat on the internet just like did the I threw up in my mouth a little bit thing to me. Fuck you, Mr. Whiskers, or whoever you are.
So to everyone that has been a part of our show, that has been on our show, that has listened to our show, thank you so much. I really was not expecting to win. I thought there was another one or two podcasts on there that may have had the edge on us, but we did get the victory. We did once again have the best acceptance speech of all the shows. So thank you, everyone. Congratulations, gentlemen. A big night for us.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Eccles, for all the hard work you do behind the scenes.
Yeah, no joke. Even though this is my podcast, Jeff Eccles does all the work, and so please give him all the thanks. Well, I'm the lucky one with this face, with these golden pipes, with my ability to say more frequently than anybody else on this show. Like, I've already won. This is really for Jeff Eccles. Thank you so much, man.
If Jeff Solomon is giving another acceptance speech, it must be time for bump, 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 bump.
Hey, man, I got it pulled up early this time. Hey, guess who won this week?
I did.
Oh, well, nobody cares about that, John.
Oh, jeez.
By the way, since it is October, I should say I'm almost certain it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And the way that you will know is because when you're checking your Yahoo Sports Fantasy Football app, the highlights are now in pink, which is pretty awesome. So, shout out to Breast Cancer Research. Breast Cancer Research is research for all that ails us. And thank you to all the men and women fighting the good fight out there for that.
Not just men and women. Copperhead snakes are fighting breast cancer too.
I saw that too. All right. But back to what's really important.
What goes on in Albuquerque?
What's really important is I won this week.
Sam, John is a huge snake fan, so we don't go 2 or 3 episodes without him mentioning something about snakes. Just because why
not? I want to highlight the fact that I beat I'm so glad that Jamie is in the league this year. Jamie, you make some amazing decisions with how you set your lineup, but it just wasn't enough to beat me this week as I dominated you 141-97. So apparently all the TDs were on my end this week. John, oh my God.
DeAndre Hopkins, 32 points.
You did win. You beat Tony from Swankville by 2.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Yeah, Ben Roethlisberger came through big time for me last time in a loss for the Steelers.
Wow. Jeff Eccles, you're still rolling. 162, and you beat Brad from Swankville, one of the better teams this year.
162? How the hell?
Dimitri stuck in the airport, again pacing the field with 174 against Dave Rizzari. You still stink. You're still in the gutter. Congratulations to Natalie from Watsonville. Wind down for what? Just beat down the only Sloan. The Holy Pope beat Mr. Butt Destiny.
The Holy Pope won a game, and he hasn't listened to our show or changed his roster in a year and a half.
Congratulations to Ryan Hannigan. This might be your first win of the year. You beat Rhea, who is still on vacation. And of all people, Jeremy from Under the Bridge, still in first place after beating down the Smoking Bulls. Here's the great thing. Have any of you checked out Jeremy's icon for his team?
Yes, I have.
It's a jar of paste picante sauce, and that's a full-on inside joke. But you just need to know, Jeremy, his only sustenance in life, when he hangs out underneath the Felton Covered Bridge, is he just eats half chewed and disregarded jars of paste picante sauce from his squatting spot. So that's awesome, man. Congratulations, Jeremy. You're in first place. And you're eating pace.
He won't be after this week. But I do got to give a shout out to Sloan. Congratulations, Sloan, on benching a quarterback who scored 55 points. That's some prime time coaching right there.
Was that Goff?
No, it was the Bears
Trubisky. Yeah, nobody in their right minds would have thought that Trubisky would have thrown 6 touchdowns. But again, we're a forward-thinking show that shouldn't be talking about football that much. Sorry, Val. Sorry, Ben. You can start listening again.
We should talking about Ask the Panel.
Oh shit, we do have an Ask the Panel, don't we? Sorry for the length of the show tonight, guys. All right, Ask the Panel. Hold on. Professionalism. I think I have an audio for that, don't I? Yeah, here we go. Ask the Panel, where you get to ask us a question about wine or beer. I love this question this week. Matthew from the Tavern. Matthew asks, do you think it is against etiquette to submit a kit beer to an amateur home brew competition. So I found this one really interesting because I'm definitely torn on it. And it's a good question because everybody just went like pug and their heads all just turned to the side, cocked off to the side a little bit like,
because I answered this question on the tavern.
You did answer it. So I'll let you go first while the others ponder their answer. John, what are your thoughts on this one?
So first of all, Steven Seelock, a winemaker, said, no, go ahead. But I said, no, wait a minute. If it's truly a kit, you bought it from Northern Brewer, you bought it from somebody, and you've got all these ingredients and you've got a recipe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, step by step. Now, certainly you have to execute those things in the proper way, but is it really your beer? I mean, is it your recipe if you make Toll House cookies from the back of the bag of chocolate chips? Oh, no, not unless you do something a little different. It's Toll House cookies. So, and everybody's Toll House cookies taste a little different, doesn't matter, but still it's the same ingredients. Mm-hmm. So I really think, truthfully, you need to do something with the recipe to make it your own. You change the hop schedule, add a different specialty grain to the mix, boil it a little longer, use a different yeast, which would be a big deal. So yeah, I don't think you should do that unless you're doing something to fundamentally change that kit, if it's something that you got as a package from somewhere. I mean, true. If it was just a bag of grains and they said, okay, you're on your own, you're going to mix some dried malt with some water and add some specialty grains in a steeping bag and boil it and do whatever you want with the hops, then that's fine. But if it was a true kit, the way I understand it, then no, I don't. I think that would be against etiquette to do that.
Okay. Sam, what do you think on this one?
What I was thinking about was like adjuncts, so additives, or whether it's, a fruit or extra hops or something like that. But I like what you were saying, John, with if you're changing the, some of the process or some of the other things, I think then it's okay. But when I think of kits, I'm thinking of malt extract where you're just adding water and like maybe some sort of powder or something, and that verboten. But if you're using an all grain build and then you're kind of playing with it from there in substantial ways, I think that would be okay. But there has to be a change. You can't have, if you've got a recipe in front of you, it can't be that exact thing because you've altered it in some way, whether it's temperature or an adjunct or something like that.
All right, Jeff?
I've got a couple thoughts here. And one of them is it depends on how we define a kit, because I think the thing is, like, if it's a self-sustained entity where it's like everything is like a pre-sealed kit with everything inside of it, that's one thing. But like if you go
so let me answer that question for you,
Yeah.
because I asked that, and that is what it is. Like, you get everything you need outside of the water, and you have a recipe. So you're tearing open bags or opening foil bags and dumping them into things. It is that kind of kit. So it's not just like a recipe that says here's the grains that you need.
I don't want to give Solomon the floor, and he deserves it. But just a second, different water can change a recipe
Absolutely.
significantly with anything, beer, wine, spirits. I don't think that's enough to submit to something.
No, I feel you. And I want to even be more specific just to make sure that we're clear here, right? Because I believe, like, when you mentioned Northern Brewer, like, I could get something like pre-sealed and everything essentially like comes from them. And yet in the same respect, I could go to a local brewery supply store where they do like their own in-house kits, where it's like it's their recipe and they just like drop everything into a basket for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a little bit of like a difference there. To me, there is a little bit of subtlety. Now, do I think that somebody should run that and enter it into a competition? Absolutely not. I think that there do need to be variations, My favorite variation is use an unwashed carboy because then it just brings your own, special,
microflora.
your own funk, your own earthiness. You know what I mean? But I guess it does I do think that there is a big difference though. Like there really is. I would say that shit, man.
And that's what happens.
Dropped off. Hello.
Yeah,
hey everybody. I'm back.
Damn it.
I think I think there's a difference here. If I dropped off like a Blue Apron kit at everybody's house, you're all going to have something different on your plate. Like you are, right?
But to that point,
but that doesn't speak to your expertise. It just speaks to the variability of your own particular situation.
It speaks to
that. Would you enter that Blue Apron meal kit that you got into a cooking competition?
I'm not saying I haven't before.
Salsa competitions.
No,
that's what you want to
absolutely. How dare you? Come on, dude. Blue Apron, you have to do it 30 minutes or less. That is not my guacamole recipe at all.
All right, last point, Jeff.
I guess what I'm saying is this, that the fact that it is such a difficult question to answer, because I don't think it's the same as like getting some Betty Crocker like cornbread. You know what I mean? Like there's a big difference there. It's not making top ramen. There are a lot of variabilities. I think it does speak to your abilities, at least as an amateur brewer, if you gave everybody the same stuff, to see who could really make the best there. But no, in the same respect, it's also plagiarism. And I think that's what we really need to think about here is, you can't pass it off as your own. And so why would you enter it in the first place?
Yeah. And I think kind of what I said was like, if you are going to submit it, make sure you note that I'm submitting a kit beer, make note that you're doing it would be my only thing. So
I think what would be interesting though, is to do like a kit competition.
That would be interesting. That would be
and I'd love to see I'd love to see a bunch of professional brewers, like each with like, how on like Top Chef every year, they'll do the one where like everybody got like some frozen foods and then they have to turn it into something amazing. Like if everybody got like just a prefabbed malt extract
and you're able to add one extra ingredient.
And you could add one thing.
Yeah.
The 2019, the Manual Kit Spirit or Kit Awards. Here we go.
If there's one extra ingredient, you could say they have one shot and one opportunity.
There you go.
I think 2/3 of you got that one.
Yeah. All right. I think that's a good point for me to call.
Last call.
Last call. Time to clean house and lock the doors. So you know the drill, folks. We're looking for the follows, we're looking for the reviews, and we're looking for the cash. So I'll start off and say, folks, if you are looking to follow us on the socials, which is a great way to see what's going on with us, check out We Like Drinking on Instagram and Facebook, and We Like Drinking 1, that's number 1, on Twitter. And be sure to check us out on Facebook in our private group called The Tavern. You can find that at welikedrinking.com/tavern. Sam, best places to find you on the socials.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Slaughter Rights. I believe that's also Facebook, but you can just look for a wonderful beard and man bun. I think it's sitting in a bathtub drinking a bottle of wine on Facebook.
That's amazing. That's how I spend most of my time on Facebook. Jeff Solomon, we have a viewer. I don't know if you're in the chat or not, but John Ruyak, talk about reviews.
Go to Apple iTunes, fire it up, write whatever you want. It could be 100 monkeys sitting at 100 typewriters, but give it 5 stars.
There you go. Jeff Solomon. And if the folks want to go Uber help, how do they do that?
Oh, dude, why don't you come visit us on the Patreon app? Download that on your phone, and you're like, hey, I got this app and I can't view anything. That's because the next step is, for as little as $1 a month, you unlock some exclusive content from your favorite 2-time award-winning topical beer and wine podcast that is all about the FUN. You get some We Like Drinking exclusives through the Patreon app. I'm talking about the after party around once a month, sometimes every other week, sometimes every 2 months. It's the greatest thing ever. You're talking about, you want to talk about brewing? John Ruyak's got what, a coconut porter, recipe on there. I've got my award-winning guacamole recipe. We're talking a lot about awards. I will give you a personal award, right? It's called the Jeff Solomon Bro Punch in the Shoulder Award for being a rad dude or dudette or gender-neutral person joining our Patreon nidge. So go ahead and hit us up at welikedrinking.com/pledge to find out how you can get down with this illness for as little as $1 a month. It's a good time.
Now, that was a lot of information, folks, and I know we're going way long, but we still have to get to the part where you commit all that to memory, which is our bit called Wait, Who Subscribed? Where I give these guys a quote from someone fictional or non-fictional, and they try to tell me what it's from. Could be a movie, could be something else. All right. I'm excited about this one tonight.
You are?
Yes, I am. Here we go. No doubt, your sword is indeed a beautiful thing. It is a tribute to whoever forged it in bygone ages. There are very few such swords at this one left in the world. But remember, it is only a sword, Matthias. All right. So there's no way I'm going with Sam to last on this one. So Jeff Solomon.
Well, okay. I want to tell you what I'm thinking, and then I'll tell you what it probably is.
Okay.
What I'm thinking is, when you talk about swords, I can't help but think about the Hattori Hanzo swords from the Kill Bill series. It's not that, though. I'm almost certain. I don't know a whole lot about Sam, but for some reason, I know that he's like really into Game of Thrones. And even though I don't watch that garbage, it's probably a Game of Thrones thing.
Okay. Game of Thrones. That's a good guess. John Rujak.
Oh, I'm thinking Conan the Barbarian Destroyer movie.
Okay. All right. So now I'm going, Sam is itching, I think. So Sam, do you know what this is from?
So while I thought it might be Game of Thrones, when I was thinking of the word sword, is it the Redwall series?
It is the Redwall series.
Redwall, with badgers and rabbits and salamanders and everything?
Yes.
They made movies out of that?
No, it could be. It's anything fictional or non-fictional. It could be
Salamandastron. I've read that book.
It was. I saw a long conversation that Sam had with somebody on an interview about the Redwall series, and so I thought I'm going to throw that man a bone tonight. Congratulations, Sam. Very well done.
I don't remember that interview.
it's like the first thing you see on your website. So
it was 15 American single malts ago.
You were drinking a monkey.
Oh, monkey shoulder. All right.
Shoulder. Yeah.
I need to update my website, is what you're telling me.
If it's a consolation, like I was listening to last week's podcast and I'm like, oh, we talked about that?
Right. Okay, we're approaching an hour 15. So moving on, you can also find show notes for this episode with all the links to the stories or mentions we had at welikedrinking.com/podcast or swipe right on your phone. All right. That was a long episode, but it kind of had to be because we had such an awesome guest on tonight. So we've reached the time where I get to say, okay, panel, let's take one last trip around this table and get some final thoughts thoughts before we shut off the lights. John Ruyak.
So spent a very cool weekend up at the Vivac pick party this weekend. Helped pick 3 tons of grapes, but I want to give a special shout out to Ashley and Nell at the Dixon Tasting Room. And Nell gave you some sweet swag that some of the guys may be getting later. Thanks, girls.
Thanks, everybody at Vivac. Jeff Solomon.
Okay. Editing note. Jeff, when I point at you, you have to stop the music, okay? Here we go.
I can't do that.
All right. When I say hit it, you stop the music.
Okay.
Okay. So you won a podcast award for the 2nd time in a row. Hit it. That don't impress me much. Something in the thing, in the stuff, and the stuff. Now don't get me wrong with the thingy and the thing. Okay. So you're still... I don't know why anyone listens to you. That don't impress me much. Okay, you can bring the music back.
I have to get a screenshot of you crooning away with your cocktail drink, like Dean Martin up there staggering across the stage. Well done. Sam Slaughter, any final thoughts before we end this disaster gong show of an episode?
Come check out themanual.com and our podcast, Beards, Booze, and Bacon. And if you're ever in Greenville, South Carolina, I'm going to cough. Come check me out in Greenville. I will buy you a drink.
Absolutely. He did turn his head when he coughed, just by the way. All right. And Sam, I will say thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. I am super impressed with the Spirit Awards. You did some great work on that. It looked like a lot of work that you did, and I hope everybody will go check it out. And with that, I'll say thanks again for joining us at the We Like Drinking podcast.
Well, you'll never drink alone.
Jesus. All right, pushing right up at 115, I think. But viewers, if you thank you for sticking with us that whole time. I'm gonna
Whoever's viewing isn't commenting.
They're gone. I think they stumbled across us on accident.